My name is Fanny Thompson. I'm 68 years old, and for 30 years I built luxury subdivisions across New England. I never imagined my own daughter would ban me from seeing my grandchildren. Every night I cry looking at their photos, wondering how Amanda could be so cruel after everything I sacrificed for her. What she doesn't know is that I secretly own the entire subdivision where she lives her perfect life. I could end it all with one phone call. Before I tell you how this all unfolded, let me know where you're watching from and subscribe. If you've ever had family turn their back on you despite everything you've done for them. I grew up in a small Massachusetts town where nobody expected much from girls like me. My father worked at the paper mill, my mother cleaned houses for the wealthy families on the hill. They taught me the value of hard work, but never imagined I'd build a real estate empire. When I got pregnant with Amanda at 22, her father disappeared faster than morning dew. I was alone with a baby, no college degree, and a waitressing job that barely covered rent on our tiny apartment. "You'll never make it on your own, Fanny," my mother warned. But those words lit a fire in me. I started answering phones at a local real estate office while Amanda was in daycare. The owner, Harold, noticed how I memorized property details and could charm potential buyers. He became my mentor, teaching me everything about the business. "You have an eye for potential, Fanny," Harold would say. "You see what properties could become, not just what they are." By the time Amanda started kindergarten, I had my license and was selling homes. I worked weekends, holidays, anytime a client needed me. Many nights, Amanda fell asleep on the office couch while I finished paperwork. When she was 10, I scraped together enough for a down payment on our first small house. It wasn't fancy, but Amanda had her own bedroom with pink walls and a backyard with a swing set. "This is just the beginning, sweetie," I promised her. "One day, we'll have everything we need." As Amanda entered her teens, I took my biggest risk. With a loan that terrified me and partners who barely trusted a woman in development, I built my first small subdivision. Those 12 homes sold within months, and Fanny Thompson Properties was born. I paid for Amanda's private school tuition, her college fund, her first car. I wanted her to have everything I didn't. When she graduated from Boston University with honors, I felt my sacrifices were worth it. Amanda was beautiful, well-educated, and sophisticated in ways I could never be. She met James Whitaker during her final year of college. He came from old money. His family had a vacation home on Cape Cod and connections to Boston's elite society. The day she brought him home, I saw something change in her eyes. The way she watched me pour coffee into my chipped favorite mug, how she winced at my Boston accent when I told stories about difficult clients. "Mother, it's deal, not deal," she corrected me quietly when James stepped away. I laughed it off, but something inside me ached. That night, I practiced speaking in front of my bathroom mirror, trying to soften the accent that marked me as working class. When they got engaged, I offered to pay for the wedding. James's parents insisted on hosting at their country club, but I contributed a generous check. At the reception, I overheard Amanda telling her new mother-in-law that I had done well for someone with no formal education. Despite these small hurts, I remained Amanda's biggest supporter. When they struggled to buy their first home in an upscale neighborhood, I secretly paid off their debts to help them qualify for their mortgage. Amanda never knew. The birth of my grandson Tyler brought us closer again. I was in the delivery room cutting the cord, crying tears of joy. When Sophie arrived 2 years later, I thought my heart might burst with love. Those early grandparent years were precious. I'd take the kids for weekends, bake cookies, build pillow forts. Amanda seemed grateful for the help, and the children adored me. But as James climbed the corporate ladder at his law firm and their social circle expanded, I noticed Amanda becoming more critical of me. "Mom, could you please not wear those bright flowered tops when you pick up the kids from school? People talk." Mom, when you come for dinner next week, please don't bring up your work stories. James's colleague found them a bit common. Each comment was a small paper cut to my heart, but I told myself she was just trying to fit into her new world. I didn't want to hold her back. As Amanda and James established themselves in their affluent community, I watched my daughter transform into someone I barely recognized. Their three-bedroom colonial was lovely, but Amanda constantly compared it to her friends' larger homes. James's BMW was too old model, their vacations not exotic enough, the children's private school not prestigious enough. We need to network with the right people, she told me during one of our increasingly rare lunch dates. James could make partner faster if we had better connections. I nodded, remembering how I'd built my business through relationships and hard work, not by chasing status. But I kept these thoughts to myself. Amanda had chosen a different path. The real heartbreak came at Sophie's 5th birthday party. I'd arrived early to help set up wearing a new outfit I thought Amanda would approve of. The house filled with children and parents from their neighborhood, all carrying expensive gifts in designer bags. As I arranged cupcakes on a silver tray, I overheard Amanda speaking to a woman in tennis whites. "Oh, she's just helping out for the day," Amanda said when the woman asked who I was. "Not my mother or even Fanny, just someone helping out." That night, I cried all the way home. The next morning I called Amanda. "I think we need to talk about yesterday," I said carefully. "What about it? The party went perfectly." "You told your friend I was the help, Amanda." A pause. "Don't be so sensitive, Mother. I just didn't want to get into explaining our whole family history." "What family history? That I raised you alone, that I paid for your education, that I love my grandchildren." "See, this is exactly why. You always bring up the past and make people uncomfortable. You have this chip on your shoulder about being self-made. Not everyone needs to hear your rags to riches story." Her words stung like salt in an open wound. The incidents multiplied. Amanda corrected my grammar at family dinners. She uninvited me from a neighborhood block party, claiming it was just for residents. At Tyler's school play, she seated me in a different row from their family. Still, I made excuses for her. Perhaps she was stressed. Maybe James's family was putting pressure on her. I tried adapting to please her. I took elocution lessons to soften my accent. I consulted a personal shopper for a more appropriate wardrobe. I read etiquette books to learn which fork to use for salad. Nothing was enough. The more I changed, the more Amanda found fault. Meanwhile, my business continued to thrive. I developed luxury communities across New England, earning respect in the industry that had once dismissed me. But my success seemed to embarrass rather than impress my daughter. When Amanda announced her 3rd pregnancy, I was thrilled. Another grandchild to love. But at her baby shower, hosted at her friend Serena's mansion, I was seated at the far table with elderly relatives, while Amanda's new friends surrounded her. A month before her due date, Amanda called with news. "James got a major promotion. We're moving to Oakwood Estates." Oakwood Estates was the most exclusive subdivision in the area, a gated community with custom homes on acre lots. Coincidentally, I had been considering purchasing the entire development through one of my investment companies. "That's wonderful news, sweetheart. Those homes are beautiful." "We found the perfect house, but the competition is fierce. 3 other families are bidding." I heard the worry in her voice. "I'm sure you'll get it. James must be making a wonderful salary now." "Yes, but the down payment is substantial. We might need to wait." That night, I made a decision. I finalized the purchase of Oakwood Estates through my shell company, Thompson Legacy Holdings. No one connected it to me personally. Then I called the selling agent of the home Amanda wanted. The Thompson family should get preferential consideration, I said, using my influence without revealing my relationship. 2 days later, Amanda called, ecstatic. "We got the house. The other buyers mysteriously withdrew their offers." I smiled to myself. "That's wonderful luck." "It's not luck, Mother. It's because James is respected. People want successful families in neighborhoods like this. I swallowed my hurt. Of course, dear. I'm happy for you. I hadn't planned to keep my ownership of their subdivision secret forever. Initially, I thought I'd surprise them someday, perhaps leave it as an inheritance. But as Amanda's attitude toward me worsened, I kept the information to myself, a secret ace I never intended to play. After Amanda and James moved into their dream home in Oakwood Estates, our already strained relationship deteriorated further. Their new house was a 6-bedroom colonial with a 3-car garage swimming pool and home theater. The mortgage was undoubtedly stretching their finances, but appearances mattered above all to Amanda. My invitations to family dinners became less frequent. When I did visit, Amanda would text me specific instructions beforehand. Please don't mention growing up in Milltown, Mom. Our neighbors don't need to know about the paper mill or your parents' jobs. Wear something conservative tomorrow. The Prestons are coming over, and he's the head of the hospital board. During one Sunday lunch, I brought homemade apple pie, a recipe my mother had taught me. We don't really eat desserts like that anymore, Amanda said, sliding the pie into the refrigerator without offering it. James is watching his cholesterol, and I'm doing clean eating. Later, I noticed store-bought petite fours being served with coffee. Despite Amanda's increasing coldness, my grandchildren still adored me. Tyler would run to the door when I arrived, throwing his arms around my waist. "Grandma Fanny, did you bring your card tricks?" Sophie would show me her artwork and whisper secrets about school friends. These moments kept me coming back despite the humiliation. One Saturday morning, I arrived early to take the children to the Science Museum as planned. The front door was unlocked, so I entered calling out, "Hello, Grandma's here?" From the kitchen, I heard Amanda's voice, not realizing I had arrived. Having my mother visit is exhausting. She tries so hard to fit in, but she's just an embarrassment. The other day at the club, she asked for ketchup with her steak. James murmured something I couldn't hear. "I know she means well," Amanda continued, "but she doesn't understand our world. She's like a bull in a china shop socially." I stood frozen, my heart crumbling inside my chest. Tyler spotted me from the stairs and shouted my name, alerting Amanda to my presence. Her face flushed when she entered the hallway. "How long have you been standing there?" she asked. "Long enough," I replied quietly. "We need to talk, Amanda. Not now, not in front of the children. But soon." The museum trip was strained, but I kept a smile for Tyler and Sophie. The following week, I asked Amanda to meet me for coffee. "I heard what you said about me being an embarrassment." I began once we were seated. "If there are specific things I'm doing wrong, tell me directly instead of complaining behind my back." Amanda sighed dramatically. "It's not specific things, Mom. It's everything. The way you talk about your business all the time, how you mention money, your loud laugh. You don't understand the subtlety required in our social circle. I raised you alone, built a successful business, and have always supported your choices," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Yet you're ashamed of me. That hurts deeply, Amanda." "You're just jealous," she snapped. "You had to struggle for everything, and you resent that I have it easier. You want me to feel guilty for having a good life." "That's not true. I wanted you to have advantages I didn't have. I just didn't expect you to look down on me because of it." The conversation ended with nothing resolved. Over the next few months, I tried everything to repair our relationship. I sent thoughtful gifts. I offered to help with childcare when their nanny quit suddenly. I even tried to engage James in conversation about his law practice, thinking he might help bridge the gap. Nothing worked. Amanda remained cold, treating me like an obligation rather than a mother. When Amanda announced she was pregnant with their 3rd child, I found out through a mutual friend, not from my daughter directly. I saw the announcement on social media days later, a professional photo shoot with Amanda James and the children in coordinating outfits. I sent flowers and called to congratulate her, but the conversation was brief and formal. When little Ethan was born, I wasn't invited to the hospital. I met my new grandson a week later during a tightly scheduled 30-minute visit. As I held him breathing in that precious newborn scent, Amanda watched me like a hawk, as if I might somehow contaminate him with my working-class background. "He's perfect," I whispered, kissing his tiny forehead. "Be careful of his fontanelle," Amanda warned, reaching to adjust my hold on him. I had raised her without incident, but suddenly I couldn't be trusted to hold a baby properly. The slight cut deep, another indication that my daughter saw me as fundamentally inadequate. Tyler's 8th birthday arrived on a perfect October Saturday. Amanda had planned an elaborate party with a science theme, hiring entertainers and caterers for the event. I'd received a formal invitation in the mail, as though I were any other guest rather than the birthday boy's grandmother. For weeks I had worked on Tyler's gift in my spare time. He loved space and astronomy, so I created a detailed model of the solar system that hung from a wooden frame, each planet hand-painted and properly scaled. I'd included educational cards about each celestial body and a small telescope. I arrived at the party early, carrying my carefully wrapped present. Amanda greeted me with a quick formal hug. "We're still setting up," she said, glancing at my package with concern. "You can put that with the other gifts." The backyard had been transformed into a mini science fair with activity stations and a large tent housing tables covered in white cloths. Catering staff arranged elaborate platters while a photographer set up equipment. As I placed my gift on the designated table, I noticed it was significantly larger and less professionally wrapped than the others, most in matching paper with elegant bows. The guests began to arrive, families from the neighborhood in expensive casual wear. I stood awkwardly near the food table, smiling at parents who glanced at me curiously but rarely approached. One woman in white linen pants and a silk blouse finally walked over. "Are you new to Oakwood Estates? I don't think we've met at any of the association meetings," she said. Before I could answer, Amanda appeared beside us, placing a hand on the woman's arm. "Diane, have you tried the canapes? They're from that new bistro downtown," she said deliberately, ignoring my presence. Diane looked confused. "I was just introducing myself to your—" "She's just helping out today," Amanda interrupted with a tight smile. "Mom, could you check if the ice is melting on the drinks table?" Mom. So, at least she acknowledged our relationship this time, but only while assigning me a task like household staff. I nodded and walked away, my cheeks burning with humiliation. During the party, Tyler spotted me from across the yard and ran over, throwing his arms around my waist. "Grandma Fanny, you came!" he shouted joyfully. "I wouldn't miss it for the world, birthday boy," I replied, hugging him back. He grabbed my hand and pulled me toward his friends. "Guys, this is my grandmother. She builds houses and knows magic tricks." The children gathered around excitedly, but Amanda quickly appeared. "Tyler," she whispered harshly, gripping his shoulder. "Your friends are waiting at the science experiment station. Go join them now." She gave me a cold look that clearly said I should keep my distance. James's parents arrived late, making a grand entrance with an enormous gift. Amanda fawned over them, introducing them to everyone as Tyler's grandparents, with no mention of my equal status. They were seated at the main table for lunch, while I found myself at the far end with the teenagers hired to help with younger children. When it came time for presents, Tyler ripped through designer clothes, expensive electronics, and educational toys. When he reached my handmade gift, he tore off the paper eagerly. He gasped, eyes wide as he held up the solar system model. "Did you make this, Grandma? It's amazing." For a moment, pure joy crossed his face, and several parents murmured appreciative comments. Amanda quickly handed him another gift, barely acknowledging mine. "Look at this one from the Prestons, Tyler," she urged, directing attention away from my contribution. After the party, as guests departed and the caterers cleaned up, Amanda cornered me in the kitchen. "What were you thinking bringing that homemade thing?" she hissed. "Everyone else brought proper gifts." "Tyler loved it," I said quietly. "I spent weeks making it for him." "That's the problem, Mom. You're always trying to show how special you are with your homemade gifts and your stories. It embarrasses us. The other parents probably thought we couldn't afford proper presents. There's nothing improper about a gift made with love, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Amanda's face hardened. This isn't about love. It's about fitting in, something you've never understood or tried to do. I've done nothing but try to fit into your life, Amanda. I've changed how I dress, how I speak, what I talk about. What more do you want from me? I want you to understand that your presence affects our standing in this community. Until you can behave appropriately, perhaps it would be better if you limited your visits. The words hit me like physical blows. Are you saying I can't see my own grandchildren? I'm saying that if you want to be part of our lives, you need to change completely. No more embarrassing stories. No more homemade gifts. No more working-class mannerisms. Tears filled my eyes. Those things are who I am, Amanda. I'm your mother. I raised you. I loved you through everything. And I appreciate that, but our lives are different now. James is being considered for partner. We're establishing ourselves in this community. We can't have distractions. I was a distraction. Not a mother, not a grandmother. A distraction from the perfect image she wanted to project. I see, I said, gathering my purse. I should go. As I walked to my car, tears streaming down my face, Tyler ran out the front door. Grandma, you forgot to show me how the planets move, he called. Amanda appeared behind him, pulling him back toward the house. Tyler, get back inside now. Grandmother is leaving. Grandmother. Not Grandma Fanny anymore. The formality was the final knife in my heart. I drove home in a daze, my chest hollow with grief. For the first time, I wondered if my ownership of their subdivision might actually matter someday. Not as a weapon, but as the only connection I might have left to my family. The weeks following Tyler's birthday party were some of the loneliest of my life. I called Amanda several times, leaving voicemails that went unanswered. I sent text messages asking when I could see the children. Silence. Finally, after 2 weeks, my phone pinged with an email from Amanda. The formal tone made my heart sink before I even finished reading. Mother James and I have decided that until you can respect our boundaries and social standards, it would be best if you refrained from contacting us or the children. Your behavior at Tyler's party was just the latest in a pattern of embarrassing incidents. We need space to consider whether continued contact is in our family's best interest. I read the message again, unable to believe my own daughter could be so cold. What embarrassing incidents. Bringing a handmade gift. Being acknowledged as a grandmother, existing with my working-class background intact. I tried calling immediately, but the call went straight to voicemail. When I drove to their house the next day, no one answered the door, though both cars were in the driveway. I left a small gift bag for each child on the porch with a note expressing my love. Later that evening, I received a text from an unknown number. Please respect our wishes for no contact. Packages returned via mail. James. Not even Amanda could face me anymore. Depression settled over me like a heavy blanket. I went through the motions at work, but the joy had gone out of everything. Each night I looked through photo albums of Amanda's childhood, of the early days with my grandchildren, wondering how we had reached this point. 3 days before Thanksgiving, a certified letter arrived from Whitaker Preston and Associates James's law firm. Inside was a formal cease and desist letter, warning me against harassment and unwanted contact with the Whitaker family. It threatened legal action if I continued attempting to see my grandchildren. Legal action against a grandmother for wanting to see her grandchildren. The cruelty was breathtaking. Through a neighbor whose son attended school with Tyler, I learned that Amanda had told the children I was too busy with work to visit them. Another lie to erase me from their lives. As weeks turned to months, my sadness gradually transformed into anger. I had spent my life supporting Amanda, sacrificing for her, loving her unconditionally. In return, she had discarded me like an embarrassing relic when I no longer fit her aspirational lifestyle. I consulted with my attorney about grandparent visitation rights. He was sympathetic, but realistic. Massachusetts law does recognize certain grandparent rights, he explained, but courts generally defer to parents' decisions unless there's evidence of harm to the children. It's a difficult case to win, especially against a lawyer who knows the system. So, there's nothing I can do? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. He hesitated. Legally, your options are limited, but you mentioned you own the subdivision where they live. Through one of my companies, yes, they don't know. That's an interesting leverage point, though not one I'd officially recommend using. I understood what he wasn't saying. I could use my position as property owner to pressure Amanda and James, but doing so would likely destroy any chance of reconciliation. Still, I began exploring my options. A review of the subdivision covenants revealed that as the primary owner, I had significant control over neighborhood policies, from maintenance schedules to approval of external home modifications. I could make their perfect life considerably less perfect if I chose to. The thought gave me a bitter satisfaction that immediately filled me with shame. Was I really contemplating revenge against my own daughter? Had the hurt driven me to such a dark place? Through business contacts in real estate, I heard gossip about the Whitaker family. Amanda was apparently campaigning to become president of the neighborhood association, positioning herself as the guardian of Oakwood Estates' exclusivity. James was working extreme hours, trying to secure the partnership position that had been dangled before him for years. Most shocking was learning that Amanda and James had applied for membership at the Oak Ridge Country Club, the most exclusive in the area. On their application under family information, they had listed my status as deceased. I was dead to them. The realization brought me to my knees in my kitchen sobbing until I had no tears left. My own child had not only cut me from her life, but had erased my very existence. That night, I pulled out the legal documents confirming my ownership of Oakwood Estates. With one call to my management company, I could increase their association fees, deny their pending request for a pool renovation, even begin the process of reviewing their residency status. I held the power to disrupt the perfect life Amanda had built, the life she had decided I wasn't good enough to be part of, the life she had removed my grandchildren from. My finger hovered over my phone, rage and hurt battling within me. Was this who I wanted to be, a vengeful mother using power to punish her child? Would destroying Amanda's perfect facade bring my grandchildren back to me, or only ensure they never knew me at all? I set the documents aside, not yet ready to make a decision that couldn't be undone. But for the first time in months, I felt something besides grief. I felt resolve forming. One way or another, this situation could not continue. On a chilly spring morning, I sat in my home office surrounded by old family photographs. Amanda in her high school graduation cap, beaming with pride. Tyler as a toddler on my lap, both of us laughing at bubbles floating through the air. Sophie's first steps captured as she wobbled toward my outstretched arms. How had love become so twisted? How had success and status poisoned my daughter's heart against her own mother? As I studied these memories, clarity gradually dawned. Using my ownership of Oakwood Estates as a weapon would only confirm Amanda's worst beliefs about me. It might force a reconciliation through fear, but never through love or understanding. True power wasn't in revenge, but in truth and integrity. I called an emergency meeting with my business team. Though confused by my sudden interest in Oakwood Estates operations, they provided detailed reports on property values, association rules, and resident information. I need a comprehensive financial analysis of all homeowners, I told my chief financial officer, particularly the Whitaker family. The results were illuminating. Despite their appearance of wealth, Amanda and James were significantly overextended. Their mortgage was underwater after a housing market adjustment. Credit card debt had accumulated to alarming levels. James had invested heavily in a friend's business venture that was showing signs of failure. They're one crisis away from financial collapse, my CFO concluded. They're living well beyond their means. Further investigation revealed more. James had been passed over for partner twice already, creating tension at his firm. His billable hours were decreasing, not increasing. Amanda's social climbing was alienating neighbors rather than impressing them. The country club membership they coveted had been quietly deferred by the board. Their perfect facade was cracking from within, explaining Amanda's increased desperation to maintain appearances at all costs, including cutting off her mother. Meanwhile, I reconnected with industry contacts to assess Oakwood Estates' market position. The development was prestigious but aging with newer luxury communities drawing potential buyers away. Property values had plateaued. Several homeowners were quietly listing their properties. I also learned about neighborhood politics through discreet conversations with residents. Amanda's campaign for association president was meeting resistance. Her proposed rule changes focusing on even stricter appearance standards for homes were seen as excessive by many neighbors. Her attitude toward longtime residents was described as condescending and entitled. Armed with this knowledge, I faced my ethical dilemma. I could use my ownership position to force Amanda to reconcile, but that would likely destroy any chance of a genuine relationship. I could continue to stay away as demanded, slowly becoming a stranger to my grandchildren. Or I could find a middle path. My answer came unexpectedly when I attended a real estate convention downtown. Dressed inconspicuously, I took a seat at the back of a session on community governance. To my surprise, Amanda was on the panel introduced as aspiring president of the Oakwood Estates Association. Exclusivity must be maintained through vigilance, she told the audience confidently. At Oakwood, we don't just sell homes, we sell a lifestyle that separates us from ordinary neighborhoods. During the question period, an elderly man stood up. What about making communities more inclusive for diverse income levels and backgrounds? He asked. Amanda's dismissive laugh cut through the room. That's a lovely sentiment, but luxury communities exist precisely because people want to live among others of similar status. No one spending $3 million on a home wants to live next to someone who might park a work truck in their driveway. I flinched at her words, remembering my own work truck from my early construction days. How proud I'd been to afford it as a single mother. After the session, I watched from across the lobby as Amanda spoke sharply to a staff member who offered her the wrong type of water. Her face twisted into an expression of contempt I barely recognized. This wasn't just about me. This was who Amanda had become. That night, I formulated my plan. It wouldn't be about revenge or power. It would be about truth boundaries. And perhaps, if I was very lucky, reconciliation based on authentic understanding rather than fear. First, I established trust funds for each of my grandchildren structured so Amanda and James couldn't access the money. The funds would provide for education and a start in life regardless of what happened between their mother and me. Next, I drafted a letter detailing my ownership of Oakwood Estates, explaining that I had purchased it to help secure their home, but had kept it private after seeing how ashamed Amanda had become of her mother. Finally, I made an appointment with my estate planning attorney to ensure my business holdings and personal assets were properly structured. If reconciliation proved impossible, I needed to know my grandchildren would eventually learn the truth about their grandmother, even if I wasn't there to tell them myself. With everything in place, I sent a formal email to Amanda and James. I request a meeting at your home this Saturday at 10 a.m. to discuss an urgent family matter. The discussion will take approximately 1 hour and will significantly impact your future in Oakwood Estates. Please confirm your availability. The response came within minutes, terse but affirmative. They likely assumed I was going to formally accept their demands for separation, perhaps sign some legal document James had prepared, relinquishing grandparent rights. They had no idea I was about to reveal the truth that could change everything. Saturday morning arrived crisp and clear. I dressed carefully in a simple but elegant outfit, a subtle demonstration that I could indeed fit in when necessary, though I refused to erase the essence of who I was. My hands trembled slightly as I gathered the documents I would need. Amanda and James's house looked as perfect as ever as I pulled into the circular driveway. Pristine landscaping, tasteful exterior, not a blade of grass out of place. The physical manifestation of the image they worked so desperately to maintain. James opened the door, his expression professionally neutral. "Fanny, please come in. We're in the study." No mom, no warmth, just cold courtesy. I followed him through the immaculate house, noticing children's artwork had been hidden away, toys neatly contained in designer baskets. The house looked like a model home, not a family residence. "The children are at a play date," Amanda said when I entered the study, anticipating my question. She sat behind James's desk, a power position. James stood beside her, a united front. "I understand," I replied, taking a seat across from them. "This conversation is best had privately anyway." Amanda folded her hands on the desk. "We assumed you wanted to discuss the terms of our separation. James has prepared some papers that would formalize our arrangement while protecting everyone's interests." The clinical language broke my heart all over again. An arrangement. Interests. As if we were dissolving a business partnership rather than severing a family bond. "Actually," I said, placing my leather portfolio on the desk, "I'm here to share some information you should have before making any final decisions about our relationship." I removed the first document, sliding it across the desk. It was the deed to Oakwood Estates showing ownership by Thompson Legacy Holdings. "What's this?" James asked, scanning the document with professional interest. "The property deed for the entire Oakwood Estates development," I explained calmly. "I purchased it through my holding company 3 years ago, just before you moved here." Amanda's brow furrowed. "Why are you showing us this? What does some company's ownership of the neighborhood have to do with us?" I slid another document forward, this one showing the corporate structure of Thompson Legacy Holdings, with my name clearly listed as sole owner. The color drained from Amanda's face as understanding dawned. James grabbed the paper, reading it rapidly, his legal mind quickly grasping the implications. "You own Oakwood Estates," Amanda whispered, her voice suddenly small. "The entire subdivision." "Yes," I confirmed. "I have for 3 years. I purchased it when I heard you were interested in moving here. I helped ensure you got this house when other buyers were interested. I've kept association fees lower than market rate. I've approved every modification you've requested for this property without question." James sank into the chair beside Amanda, the power dynamic in the room shifting palpably. "Why didn't you tell us?" he asked, his tone a mixture of shock and calculation. "Initially, I planned to surprise you perhaps as a gift someday, but as Amanda became increasingly ashamed of me, of my background, of everything I represent, I kept it to myself." Amanda's face flushed. "So this is your revenge? You're going to what? Evict us, raise our fees, turn our neighbors against us?" The accusation stung, but I kept my composure. "I'm not here for revenge, Amanda. If that were my goal, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd have simply made a phone call to my management company." "Then why are you here?" James asked, ever the pragmatist. I took a deep breath. "I'm here because I love you, Amanda. Because Tyler, Sophie, and Ethan are my grandchildren, and no subdivision, no social standing, no appearance of perfection is worth destroying a family over. Amanda's eyes filled with tears, whether from emotion or calculation, I couldn't tell. You've banned me from seeing my grandchildren because you're ashamed of where you came from, of who I am, I continued. You've told them I'm too busy to visit. You've told your social circle I'm dead. You've tried to erase me because I don't fit the image you want to project. Oh, it's not that simple, Amanda protested weakly. It never is, I acknowledged. Family is messy and complicated. But rejecting your mother because she reminds you that you weren't always privileged, always affluent, always part of this world you're so desperate to belong to, that's not complicated. That's cruel. James, ever the attorney, tried to regain control of the conversation. What exactly do you want, Fanny? Are you threatening to use your ownership position against us if we don't allow you to see the children? I shook my head firmly. I'm not here with threats or demands. I'm here with truth. Yes, I own this subdivision. Yes, I could make your lives difficult if I chose to. But that's not who I am. And deep down, Amanda knows that. I turned to my daughter, whose face had crumpled tears now flowing freely. I raised you alone, Amanda. I worked 60-hour weeks building a business while making your school lunches at midnight. I sat through every parent-teacher conference, every dance recital, every soccer game. Not because I had to, but because I loved you more than anything in this world. My voice broke slightly, but I continued. When you got that scholarship to Boston University, I was so proud I thought my heart would burst. When you married James, I was happy for you, even as I saw you beginning to pull away from me. When my grandchildren were born, I felt blessed beyond measure to be part of their lives. I leaned forward, holding Amanda's gaze. I never expected gratitude for doing what mothers do, but I never expected to be erased either, to be treated as an embarrassment, to be cut off from the children I love because my accent or my background or my mannerisms might somehow taint your perfect image. Amanda covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. James looked uncomfortable, caught between supporting his wife and recognizing the undeniable truth of my words. I'm not perfect, Amanda, I continued softly. I make social mistakes sometimes. I don't always know the right fork to use or the right thing to say. But I know about love. I know about sacrifice. I know about building something from nothing. Those are lessons worth passing to your children, even if they come from someone who doesn't fit your neighborhood's profile. The room fell silent except for Amanda's muffled sobs. Finally, James spoke. What happens now? He asked quietly. That depends on what you both want, I replied. I didn't come here to threaten or coerce. I came to speak my truth and hear yours, to see if there's a path forward that honors everyone's needs while remembering what truly matters. Amanda lowered her hands, her makeup streaked with tears. You must hate me, she whispered. I shook my head. I've never hated you, not for a single moment. I've been hurt, confused, angry, but never hateful. You're my daughter. That doesn't change no matter what. The pressure, Amanda began haltingly, the constant pressure to be perfect, to fit in, to advance James's career, to give the children the right connections. It's exhausting. And having you here being so authentically yourself, so unapologetically real, it reminded me of everything I was trying to hide about myself, about where I came from. It was the first, honest thing she'd said to me in years. We're struggling, James admitted unexpectedly. The mortgage, my partnership, delays the expectation. We've been drowning, but too proud to admit it. The country club rejected us, Amanda added, fresh tears spilling. After everything I did to impress them, the neighbors don't really like us. The other mothers talk about me when I leave the room. Social climbing is exhausting work, I said gently, and the summit is rarely what you imagine it to be. I don't know how to fix this, Amanda confessed. I've been horrible to you, unforgivable. Nothing between a mother and child is truly unforgivable, I said. But moving forward requires honesty and boundaries. I won't be treated as an embarrassment anymore. I won't be kept from my grandchildren. I won't pretend to be someone I'm not to make others comfortable. James nodded slowly. That's reasonable. And I won't use my ownership of this subdivision as leverage. I promised. That's not what family does. But I also won't continue to enable financial decisions that are hurting you both. We talked for hours, far longer than the scheduled meeting. Hard truths were spoken. Tears were shed. Old wounds were exposed to begin healing properly. Amanda agreed to start therapy to address her status anxiety and complicated feelings about her background. James admitted they needed financial counseling to live within their means. I outlined a gradual reconciliation plan, beginning with regular visits with my grandchildren. They miss you, Amanda confessed. Tyler asks about you all the time. I've been lying to them and it's been awful. The following weekend I returned to their home this time, welcomed at the front door by all 3 grandchildren. Grandma Fanny, Tyler shouted, launching himself into my arms. Mom said you're not too busy anymore. Can you stay for a long time? Sophie wrapped her arms around my legs. I saved all my drawings for you. Even little Ethan, who barely knew me, smiled curiously from Amanda's arms. I'm here, loves, I said, hugging them tightly, and I'm not going anywhere. That afternoon we baked cookies in the kitchen flour-dusting countertops that were usually spotless. Amanda joined us awkwardly at first, then with increasing enjoyment as she remembered simpler pleasures from her own childhood. Healing would take time. Trust would need to be rebuilt slowly, deliberately. But as I watched my daughter laughing with her children, a bit of her protective shell cracking to reveal the authentic person beneath, I knew we had taken the first crucial steps. 6 months later, we gathered for a family dinner at my home. Nothing fancy, just homemade lasagna and garlic bread. Amanda arrived wearing jeans instead of her usual carefully coordinated outfit. James had left work on time, prioritizing family over endless hours billing clients. We're putting the house on the market, Amanda told me as we washed dishes together. It's too big, too expensive, and honestly, too much pressure. We found a smaller place in a family neighborhood near the children's school. Are you sure? I asked. That's a big change. She smiled a genuine smile that reached her eyes. I'm sure. James is looking at leaving the firm, maybe starting a practice focusing on family law. Something that matters to him, not just something that impresses others. And what about you? I asked. Are you happier? She considered the question seriously. I'm getting there. Therapy is helping. So is being honest about who I am, where I come from. She squeezed my hand. Who my mother is, and everything she taught me. In the living room, James was teaching Tyler to play chess, while Sophie showed Ethan how to build with blocks. No tablets, no designer clothes, no perfectly arranged Instagram moments. Just family being family. I had owned their subdivision, but never tried to control them with that power. Amanda had tried to build a perfect life, but discovered perfection was a prison of her own making. We had both learned that true wealth wasn't in property or status, but in authentic connections and unconditional love. Thank you, Amanda whispered, leaning her head against my shoulder, the way she used to as a child, for not giving up on me even when I deserved it. I kissed her forehead gently. That's what mothers do. We see past the behavior to the heart beneath. Always. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who seemed ashamed of you? How did you balance self-respect with forgiveness? Share your stories in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life stories about family relationships, forgiveness, and finding your authentic path. Remember, sometimes the people who hurt us most are fighting battles we know nothing about. Thank you for listening to my story today.